Okay guys, welcome back to part 4 of today's tutorial, and let's take a look at the secondary pages, services, gallery, and contact us. And let's go ahead and code those. So services is the first one, and go to Coda and let's duplicate index.html and let's call it services.html. Oops, sorry, I closed Coda there for a second by mistake. Okay, so open up services.html and we have some cleaning to do. Now if we look at the PSD, we don't actually have a slider, but this is going to be turned into breadcrumbs. So div id breadcrumbs container, okay, and let's start deleting stuff. Okay, like this, and then we don't have a service list container, but what we do have is a sidebar and some content. So let's go ahead and get rid of this and get rid of all this, and center container, let's get rid of this, and let's rename this sidebar container float left, and this is going to be content or main container, something like this. Okay, so let's delete this main container. Okay, blank separator and footer. So let's go to our service.html, and this is what we have. So let's start with the sidebar container. We have another div with a class of sidebar item. Okay, and it's going to be and sidebar item, and let's see what we have. We have a heading here and a list. So let's start with this div with a class of sidebar heading plus ul with a class of, let's call this arrow list. And let me check if I have arrow list declared anywhere, just so I avoid any duplicates. So arrow list, and no, I do not. Okay, so arrow list, and that's gonna have 1, 2, 5 list items. So let's expand on that. So sidebar heading, we will have an H3, I think. So H3, and it says what we offer. Okay, and ul class arrow list, and we have a bunch of links. So actually let's just do it like this: ahref, close the link, and it's gonna be video, or first one is overview, and let's just put in service 2, service 3 just to save some time, service 4, and service 5. Now the first one actually is not a link, so and this is the active kind of category. So let's give this an ID of active category. Okay, and let's go back to our breadcrumbs here, and let's input some text. So we have a paragraph, and it says you are here. We have a link that points to index.html. That's the home link, and then we have a slash, and then we have strong services. Okay then, and that's the breadcrumbs section. So let's move on to the main container, and the structure is img source equals img slash service main or services main img, and this can be a JPG actually. Alt is going to be services, and we have a paragraph. Let's grab this text. Okay, like this. Oops, sorry about that. And close the paragraph. Okay, next we have our separator, our pattern separator. So div class equals sep container, and then we have a list with all the services. So UL with an ID of service list that has 1, 2, 3. Let's just make 3 list items, and then each list item is going to have an image. It's going to have a source of img slash service small icon dot png, and it's going to have a class of float left plus an h3 plus a paragraph plus a link with a class of read more link. Okay, so let's go ahead and expand that, see what we get. Okay, so img source img service small icon 1, 2, 3. Alt is going to be service on all 3. h3 is going to be, let's just call this service 1, service 2, and service 3. And for the paragraph, let's grab some lorem ipsum like this, and like this. Okay then, and that's pretty much it. So let's take a look at what we've got so far. So we got the sidebar and the services. Okay, so time for some images from this. Now, one image that I need is this breadcrumbs kind of background. So let's grab a piece of that, 1 by 60. save for web and devices, and then let's call this breadcrumbs bg.png. Okay, next one, we need a piece of this, the sidebar header. Okay, so let's grab that. Sidebar header bg. And I also want this piece right here, this small gradient. Save for web and devices, and let's call this sidebar, I don't know, detail, for instance. And let's see what else we need. We need these little arrows right here, so let's grab this, duplicate layer into a new document, and then trim, save for web and devices, and let's call this red arrow. Do the same for the darker arrow. Oops. Duplicate that, image, trim, save for web and devices, and call it dark arrow. Okay then. Let's see what else. We need the big image right here. So image, grab this, duplicate group into new, trim it, and that is 627 in width. So I happen to know that the size that we need is 625. So let me just grab that, make it 2 pixels smaller, trim it again, and that's perfect. So file, save for web and devices, and I actually said I'm going to save it as a JPEG, so let's see the difference. PNG, it's 11K, and JPG high at 90% is 18K. So actually I'm going to keep it as a PNG, so save this as services main img.png. Okay then, what else? We need these icons right here, so music, refresh, and tag. So music, duplicate into new, let's make it black and white, and call it service small icon 1. Refresh, do the same, save for web and devices as services small icon 2. And the last one, tag, duplicate it, trim, black and white, and then save for web and devices as small icon 3. Okay, and that's pretty much what we need. So let's go back to Coda, and actually let's go back here and refresh the page. Change this to PNG. Okay then. So time to style. Go to master CSS, and let's get down here, and let's call this services page. Okay, so let's see what we have. First of all, we need a sidebar container, so div I think I named it sidebar container. Yes, sidebar container. So div with an ID of sidebar container is going to have a width of 283 pixels and a margin right of 50 pixels. Okay, div with a class this time of sidebar item, and it's time to style this div right here. So first of all, we need round corners. So grab this. Okay, and then border 1 pixel solid E1, E5, E9, and let's add a margin bottom of about 30 pixels so we can push down other sidebar items if we have any. Okay, let's check that one out. Looking good. And actually, let's add the style for the page content div, or main container as I called it here. So div with an ID of main container. Let's give this a width of 625 pixels, and if we refresh, everything is in place. Okay then. And oh, actually, let's take care of this breadcrumbs section first. So div with an ID of breadcrumbs section. Let's go ahead and say background URL img breadcrumbs bg.png 00 and repeat x. Okay, and let's give it a height of 60 pixels because our img is 60 pixels. Okay, and let's see, we have this and we have a paragraph. So let's go ahead and style the paragraph. Div breadcrumbs section P, and let's give it a very light color of, let's see what color this is, 9297 9D, like this. Font size is going to be 11 pixels, and let's center it. So make it height 60 pixels, line height 60 pixels, and let's set the margins at 0 since it's a paragraph. So refresh, and nothing's happening. Why is that? Let's check out the code again. So breadcrumbs container, not section. I got the ID name wrong. So breadcrumbs container, refresh, and there we go. Beautiful. Okay, let's work on the sidebar now. So we have the sidebar item, and let's style the sidebar header. So div with an ID of sidebar header. Let's see if it's called sidebar heading. I'm sorry, sidebar heading, and we're gonna have a background URL of img, and it's gonna be called, let's see, sidebar header bg, sidebar header bg.png, same drill, repeat x. Height is gonna be, let's see, service sidebar header bg, 47 pixels. And let's add some padding to the left and right. So 0 on the top and padding 20 and 20 on the sides. So we get that. Now let's style that h3. So div sidebar heading h3, and all we need to do is just align it on the middle. So height 47 pixel, line height 47 pixel, and we get that. Okay, next step, let's take care of the list item here, of the list. So sidebar item, or actually we can just target that with ul class arrow list. And let's add that fancy kind of gradient to the background, to the arrow list, sorry. So background URL, and call this img slash, let's see how we called it, sidebar detail, sidebar detail.png. Okay then, so that's the list. Let's check out the list items. So arrow list, list item, and they're gonna have a border bottom, 1 pixel solid. The color is gonna be E1, E5, E9, and we need to have a background to put that arrow on the right side. So background URL again, img red arrow.png, and this is gonna be at 90, about 90% on the left side, on the right side, I'm sorry, center, and no repeat. Okay, and let's see what else. Let's see how it looks like first. And it looks pretty good, except maybe a bit more, like 93% or 92%. Okay, something like that. So let's add some padding as well. So padding, and we're gonna have about 10 pixel on the top and 20 on the sides. Let's see how that looks like. That looks pretty good. I might want some more padding on the top, so let's try with 14. Yes, beautiful. That looks just perfect. Okay then. And one last thing here. We have this list item with a special ID, which is active category. So let's go ahead and style that one. So we have list item, active category, so let's go ahead and actually use dark arrow as a background, and the text will have font weight bold, and let's see how that looks like. So list item with a class, oh, this one has an ID of active category, sorry. Okay, that looks pretty good, and this works as well. So services. Okay, and we are done with the sidebar. And actually this has a slightly lighter color, so let's grab this color and just put it here. Color. Okay, that looks much better. Okay, sidebar done. Let's move on to the content. And there's actually not much that needs to be done here. This fits perfectly, this fits perfectly, and we just need to work on the service items. So let's go right here, main container, and that is actually called UL I think service list. Yeah, service list right here. So UL service list, and let's take care of the list items. So let's see. First of all, overflow hidden because we have floated elements inside it. Let's add a border bottom, 1 pixel solid, E1, E5, E9. Let's see what else. Let's refresh. Okay, we need to add some margins. So margin bottom, about 20 pixels. So something like that. Okay. Next thing, let's target those images. So UL service list, list item, IMG. And we need to add some margins to them, so we probably just need to add lateral margins, or maybe just a right side margin. So let's say margin right of about 20 pixels, just to push that heading to the right, and that's a bit too much. 15. Okay. Next, UL service list, list item, H3, and that actually, let's give it a height. Let's check out the height of the service small icons, and it's 31. Now we need to center the H3 with the actual images like this. So we're going to give it a height of 31 pixel and a line height of 31 pixel. So let's check that out. Perfect. That aligns perfectly with the images. So let's see what else we have here. We need to give this paragraph a slightly lighter color. This color. So grab this value and UL service list, list item, paragraph, color, like this. Refresh, and there we go. Now there's something weird with these links, so let's go ahead and check that out. So services, service list, ahref goes to nothing. Oh, we didn't have any text for him, so read more about this service. So let's go ahead and grab that, copy it, paste it. Oops. And there we go. One final touch here. List item, margin bottom. We also need some padding bottom of about 10 pixels, I'm thinking, or maybe even 20 pixels. Something like that. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so that is our service page. And let's check it out again, see if we didn't miss anything. No, looks about right to me. Okay, so let's move on to the gallery page. So let's go here, services, duplicate, and let's call this gallery. Okay. And the gallery page, if we open it in Photoshop, is pretty much the same. So let's go ahead and grab the images that we need, and I'm talking about the main image. So duplicate group, new image, trim. Need to make this a bit smaller. So it's gallery main img. And what else? We need these items right here, these images. So let's grab this image. That's 626. So let me just subtract 1 pixel. So now it's 620, 623. Let me just zoom in here a bit. So 625 by 200, and that's our gallery image. Grab this and let's call it gallery img.png. One last thing, we need this shadow right here. So duplicate that, new, trim it, save for web and devices, and call it gallery shadow. Okay, now we have all the images that we need. So going back to Coda, let's scroll down. The sidebar is going to be different. It's going to say filter by project type. Filter by project type, and the active category is going to be called all types, and we're going to have type 1, type 2, and so on. Oops. Okay, that's the sidebar. The main img is going to be gallery main img. Okay. And let's see, we have the same structure here, except for the list items. We have the H3 above the image, and it's going to be called something like this. Let's call this gallery img. Gallery. It's not floated anymore. Okay, and we have this, we have the image, and we have the paragraph, and we don't have a link. What we do have is another paragraph with some EMs. And they're saying click on this image to see more details. Okay, so let's delete these two. And one thing that we need to do here is create a div with a class of gallery img container, and we're going to use that to show the shadow right beneath the actual img beneath the actual image. So div, okay. So let's grab this, copy it, paste it once. Okay, let's refresh. And this looks pretty good. Instead, service list, let's call this gallery list. Okay, going back to master CSS. This is the gallery page. And let's see what we have that's specific to gallery. We're gonna have this. And it's going to be called gallery list. Okay, IMG margin right, we don't need this. H3 we don't. We'll keep this just in case we need some padding. And let's refresh again. Padding bottom way smaller, like 15, something like this. Okay, and actually let's delete this. One last thing we need to style is the div with a class of gallery img container. So gallery img container is going to have a margin top of about 10 pixels just to push up that H3 here, like this, or maybe even higher, about 15. Okay, that looks good. And it's going to have a background of URL, img, and gallery shadow.png. And let's put that center bottom and no repeat. Now if you refresh, it's not going to show up because it's hidden by the image, but if we give the div a padding bottom of, let's say, 20 pixels, the image magically appears. And you can just control just how much of the image you want to show by changing the padding. So if I want to show less, I'd go for 10. If I want to show more, go to 40. So I'm just going to keep it at 20, and that works. Okay, so that's the gallery page. And one last thing that we need to change is the breadcrumb section. This is called gallery. Okay then, let's go ahead and create the contact page now, our final page. So let's open it up, Corpora contact. Okay, and let's grab some images. Let's see what we need. We need the main image, of course. So duplicate that, new, trim it, and change. Make it a bit smaller, trim it again, save for web and devices, and let's call this contact main img.png. Let's see what else. We're gonna need these inputs right here. So let's grab that, save for web and devices, and call it light input bg. And we're also going to need Let's see. We're gonna need a background for this, the text area, and this actually has a pretty dark stroke, so let me change this back to this. Okay, and let's grab a piece of it. So 1 by 189, paste that in, and let's call it text area BG. Okay then. Now, let's go back to Coda and gallery HTML, duplicate this, and let's call this contact.html. Okay, so gallery, contact us, and the actual sidebar, first one is going to be called Corpora contact information. UL is going to be a basic list, and we're going to have just 3 list items with some paragraphs. And it's going to say address, email, and phone. And let's see what else. We have another sidebar item with some driving directions. So let's just say driving directions. And we're gonna have an embed code from Google Maps here. So let's comment that for now. Okay, inside main container, let's call this contact main img contact, and let's see what else we have. We have this paragraph here, like this, and another paragraph. And what else? We have a form with some inputs. So let's delete this. Have a look at our page, see how everything is looking, and okay. Let's start form. It's gonna have an ID of contact form. Method is gonna be get or post, it doesn't matter. We're not making it a functional form anyway. So let's go ahead and add a field set, and let's go ahead and expand on that. Okay. Now we need to use some paragraphs to center the inputs. So paragraph input type equals text, and the ID is going to be name. Okay, and let's see what else we can add. For now, let's just stick with this. Okay, and actually let's go ahead and add a label for each input. So label is going to be for name, and it's going to say your name. and close the label. Okay, and for the paragraph, let's add a class of 1/2 call, and I'll show you that in a bit. Copy this, paste it again, and it's going to be your email, something like this. And another paragraph. Okay, we don't need actually any class on this one, so let's say label for message, your message, and the ID, actually this is going to be a text area, and we have an ID of message. Let's see what else we need. We need calls equals 10 and rows equals 10. Text area. Okay then. And last thing that we need are some buttons. And I'm talking about this button, send message, and this helping paragraph here. So going back to Coda, a class red button, let's float it to the left, and this is called send message, and we need a paragraph with a class of additional options. I think you remember it from the homepage slider. Also floated to the left, and we're gonna have or a link href, and that's gonna say reset form. Okay, and we are done. Let's check out Chrome, see how it looks like. Okay then, looking good. So let's start by customizing this, the basic list. So going back to master CSS, let's create a new section here, call it contact page, list with a class of basic list, and we're gonna have something like this: background, URL, img, and it's going to be called sidebar detail.png, just to add that gradient on top of the list. Repeat X. Okay, so UL basic list item, and that's gonna have a padding of 10 pixel on the top and 20 pixel on the sides, so something like that. And actually let's put 14, and let's reset the margin for the paragraph inside the list item. So list item P, let's create margin 0, something like that. And we also need a border, so border bottom 1 pixel solid, E1, E5, E9. Okay then, looking good. And let's see what else we have here. we have the driving directions. So let's go over to maps.google.com. Let's just grab a location, something like this. And we need, let's see what size we need. So we have 283 pixels is the width of the sidebar, so that's 20 pixels on each side. As padding, that's 40, so we need 243 pixel wide width for this. So custom 240, let's round it up to 240, and the height is going to be around 200. So something like this. Grab the code and going back here, embed code, something like this. And let's get rid of this color. Refresh. And we kind of need to center that, so sidebar heading, let's create another div here, and we'll give it a class of center sidebar item. Let's call it something, I don't know, something like this. So div, and let's grab the frame and do this. So center sidebar item, it's going to be, it's just going to have a padding of 0 and 20 pixel on the sides. So something like that. And also just leave 20 pixels all around, so we have that. Okay, that looks good. I'm quite happy with it. And last thing that we need to do is style this form. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have form, contact form, and since we have floated elements, let's set the overflow to hidden. Okay, next, let's see what else. Form, let's style those inputs. So contact form input type equals text, and let's send the background URL to img, and let's call this light input bg.png 00 repeat x. Okay, height is gonna be let's see, light input bg, it's gonna be 47 pixels, and it's gonna have round corners. So let's go ahead and grab this. And what else? It's gonna have a border of 1 pixel solid and E1, E5, E9. Width is gonna be 260. Let's go with this. And the padding, let's give it a padding of 10 pixel on the sides. And let's go ahead and check that out. And that looks pretty good. Now, one little thing that we can do just to make it more interactive, contact form, input, type text. On mouse over, we can color that border into something darker. So 1 pixel solid, and let's go ahead and Photoshop and pick this color right here, which is B8 BA BD. And let's contact. There we go, much better. Next, let's style the text area, and it's pretty much the same as this. So let's copy this, paste it in, and we have text area. Background is going to be light, or not light, it's going to be text area BG. Text area bg.png, and it's going to have a height of 189. Round corners, border, same color, same value, and let's give it a width of about 500 pixels. Padding, let's see if we need padding. Let's just leave it like this for now. So refresh, and let's go ahead and add the same value for the mouse over state. So we have text area, refresh, and there we go, very cool. And it seems we also need some top and bottom padding, so let's change that, and let's change its height to 169. 169, I'm sorry. Okay, that looks great. Okay, next step, let's see about these labels, because they're all just flying around here. So let's go back to Coda, form, contact form, label, and they're going to be uppercase. So text transform, uppercase. What else? Display block, so that they'll be on top of the input and the text area, and a margin bottom of about 10 points. Okay, that looks pretty good. And let's see about this kind of button. Doesn't look too good to me, so let's go back to red button and add a couple of styles. First of all, we need the color to be white. Text decoration is going to be none, and let's check that out. Cool. And text transform is going to be uppercase, so we'll have that. Okay, one last thing, we need to change the color of this link. So we don't want it blue, we want it red. So we want to give it the default color. So form, contact form, and let's target the paragraph with a class of additional options, and let's target the link. Color is going to be DDOC46. There we go, perfect. Okay then, now if we look at the PSD, we see that these two inputs, name and email, are next to each other. So I actually created this hold on, so contact. Let's check this out. So we have P with a class of 1/2 column, and this is going to be the same thing as the other two columns, so as a 1/3 column. So let's go down here and class 1/2 column. Let's give it a width of 47% and a margin right of 3%. Oops, like this. And they're also float left, like this. Okay then. We have quite a big spacing up here, so I'm thinking that's caused by the paragraph margin. So let's reset that. So form, contact form, paragraph. Let's set the margin top to none. Okay, and that took care of it. Now let's make this the text area just a bit bigger, so around 580. I'm thinking that's a bit too much. 560 or 570, just to match the width of the two inputs on the top. Okay, so what else do we have? Reset form. This should be pushed down just a little bit. So margin top about 10 pixels. Oh, and this was actually targeting the link. What we need is the actual paragraph. So margin top 10 points. Okay, and let's leave just a bit of spacing here. So let's go back to contact HTML and let's add a div with a class of blank separator. I think it's the class name. Let's see. Just to push down the button and the link. Yes, and that looks very good. Now one final touch. I just go up here, qfont, and let's say qfont replace, and let's see what we have. Form, contact form label, and a red button. So now these and the text inside the button is written with Aller. Okay, so that's pretty much done with the contact page. And let's see if the spacing here is right. All looks good. Okay, guys. Well, that was it. Let's go ahead and upload this to a server so we can check, so we can look at it in some browsers. And I'm just gonna pause this video for a second while I make the upload, and I'll see you guys in just a bit. Okay, I'm back. I've just uploaded the files that we've worked on themes.adipurdila.com/Corpora Screencast. Looking at the home page, I just realized I made a mistake. And if we go back to our index.html, we can see that I've used the class of arrow list on the items here, and we don't need to do that because it will borrow the style from the sidebar here. So instead, let's just change this to homepage arrow list. So let's go ahead and refresh that. And I'm going to change this in all three places. So it's going to look something like this. Okay, let me just re-upload index.html and check it out in the browser. Okay, that looks good. Let's see if everything copied correctly. And one thing that's missing in my HTML is Q4 replace for dark button. Okay, there we go. So re-upload this again. Okay, that is it. So let's go ahead and open Adobe Browser Labs to check out how our website looks in various browsers. So let's check out the default browser set to IE7, IE8, and 9, and some versions of Firefox and Safari and Chrome. So test. Okay then, and let's start with Firefox 2, and looking good. Well, Firefox 2 doesn't support Kufon, so the text is reverted back to Arial. But just looking over this, everything seems in place. Okay, this looks good. Firefox 3. Looking good. 3.6 and looking good, and Firefox 4 of course is gonna look perfect. Let's check out IE8. Excuse me for just a second. Okay, I'm sorry about that. That was my very loud doorbell. So we were looking at IE8 and everything seems okay. IE8 doesn't support round corners, but that's okay. IE9, everything looks good in IE9 as well. And Safari and Chrome, I'm not even gonna bother with these since they all render things perfectly. Okay, now the biggest problem is IE7, and I saved this for last because IE7, even though everything looks good, you still have these issues here. So I'm not going to fix them. They are already fixed in the final HTML files that you can download. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. But as you can see, even in IE7, just minor errors, and this is caused by the fact that IE7 doesn't support vertical align middle, so it doesn't really like that. And just one bit of an issue here, but as I said, all problems are fixed in the final HTML files available for download. So guys, I want to thank you very much for watching this very lengthy tutorial, and I really hope you found it useful. I'm definitely gonna be making more video tutorials like this on Web Design Tuts. So if you have any suggestions or you want to see something, you know, like a website theme designed, like if you have something in mind, make sure to leave a comment. I'm reading all of your comments, and also your feedback is highly appreciated. So again, thank you very much for watching all the tutorial series, and I will see you guys on the next one. So have a nice day.